If you're having issues getting a particular listener to work on your website, follow these quick tips to try to debug and solve the problem on your own. First, navigate to the website screen and make sure that you have Write Account Settings to Console turned on. If you need to turn this on, make sure that you publish the changes. Take note of your account ID. You can see ours ends in 35FF. Now we're going to jump to our website and run a hard reload. And we're going to take a look at the console by inspecting our website. You can do that by right-clicking and navigating to inspect, and then clicking on console. What you'll want to look for is a particular object. It might look like this, or it might look slightly different if you reload the page while the console is open. It should begin with account ID, and then it should list your listen layer account ID. This is going to give us information about the listen layer account that's running on our website. And we have two possible scenarios. The first scenario is that this is not appearing at all, or perhaps it is appearing, but it's showing a different account ID. The second scenario is that this is appearing, but when we drill into our enabled listeners, we don't see the listener in question, the one that you're having trouble with. When this information is written to the console, it'll include a list of all the listeners that are currently running inside of Listen Layer, as well as the individual features that are turned on. So if you're having issues with a feature or a listener, you'll want to first come here and confirm that it's actually turned on and running on the website. If, for example, this is not appearing, or it's appearing with a different account ID, then there's certain steps we'll want to take to make sure that Listen Layer is running on our website. So let's dive into those. Here's a quick list of the things that we're going to want to take a look at if your account settings don't appear in the console. First, we'll want to make sure that your domain name is set correctly inside of Listen Layer. Second, we'll want to make sure that your script tag is placed on all the pages of your website and that the account ID for that script tag matches what's in the account. We'll want to make sure that the account settings toggle is turned on. That's the one I showed earlier that you turn on in order to write the account settings to the console. Then we'll want to make sure that all of our changes are published. And then you should consider clearing your cache. This would include your network cache, server cache, and firewall cache. If you're having issues with this, reach out to your developer or your IT team and ask them about all three of these caches. We'll take a look at clearing your local cache as well. So back inside our Listen Layer account, our first step is to check our domain names. You want to navigate to the website screen. And please understand that every single domain name that you want this Listen Layer account to run on will need to be listed here. It will need to be saved and it will need to be published. But you'll need to ensure that the domain name is written out fully, including the subdomains. If your website loads at www and also loads at non-www, you'll need to have both of those listed here. And then, for example, if you have a blog on a subdomain like blog dot and then your website domain, you'll need that listed out here. It's not enough simply to list one domain. You'll need to be accurate with that. This ensures that the Listen Layer account that you have only runs on your domains and that you're only collecting the data that you want to collect. Now you can see here we have many domains listed in our testing account, and one of them is verified. You should be able to verify your domain name. Simply make sure that your script tag is placed on that domain name, that the domain is correct, that it's published, and you should be able to verify that. Now, if you are unable to verify it, when you click this wheel, an error will pop up with some details on some of the reasons why the domain may be unverifiable. Or you'll get a success message like this. If your domain name is unverifiable, make sure you read the pop-up and go through the individual options. For example, if you're using a landing page tool like Unbounce, we're probably not going to find the script on the homepage because there most likely will not be a homepage. And so you'll have to just make sure that the script is running correctly using this console method that we talked about. Now, the next step is to make sure that your script tag is running on the website on all pages. You can see inside your script tag, if you copy it, it will include a reference to this account ID. If you've placed the tag on all pages of your website, ask your developer to verify that the account ID is correct. And if you're using Google Tag Manager, you can simply find the tag and double check that it contains the account ID. You can see here we have the account ID ending in 35FF, which is our testing account. That's the same account ID that appears here. So if you do see a different account ID here, it means you have the wrong script published on this page. Now, the next step is to double check and make sure that this is turned on right here, and that all of your changes are published. If you're still unable to see this console information, try clearing your local cache. You can go to Application Storage and click Clear Site Data, and then you can also do a hard refresh. And then, as mentioned before, reach out to your IT department or your developer and ask them about clearing the cache on the website server, on any firewalls that you have in place, or even on your company's network. Now, if you're still having issues with a particular listener, and you can verify that your account is running correctly on the website, the next question is whether the listener is appropriately listed inside of this list and whether the features are turned on. Let's take a look at some of the common problems you might have if the actual account script is loading correctly, but a listener is not working. If your account settings are appearing correctly, but your listener is either not appearing or still not working, run through these options. First, make sure the listener is enabled. Then, make sure you have specifically activity features enabled. Then, make sure your listener account is published. And consider clearing cache, including your local cache, but also your network, server, and firewall cache. The first and most obvious step is to make sure that the listener you're concerned with is turned on. Then jump to the listener and navigate to features. We'll want to make sure that an actual activity feature is enabled. Any feature that is listed under an activity filter is a feature that generates data layer activity on the website. Some of these other features may not actually generate information you see directly on the website. Or they may, but they might require that these activity features be turned on. So it's important to ensure that you have an activity feature turned on. And then jump to the event settings. These are the names of the events that are going to be pushed into the data layer. And they'll most oftentimes correlate with these activity features, which is why you'll need to make sure that those activities are enabled. Then make sure all of your changes are published. If you haven't published your changes, you're not going to see them on your website. Lastly, navigate to your website and consider clearing cache like we talked about before. You can clear your local site data, You can do a hard refresh, and then you can ask your developer or IT team to clear the server cache, the firewall cache, and the network cache. If you're still having issues getting a listener to work or a particular feature to work, and you can verify that your account is on the website and loading correctly, and that the listener and the features are turned on correctly, then go ahead and proceed with submitting a support ticket so we can help you out.